Welcome to the Deep Dive. Tonight we're exploring a case that starts with, well, absolute trust and ends in just horrific betrayal. It all kicks off with a grim discovery on the banks of the Nile River.
Yeah, this is a story about those hidden cracks in, the relationships you think are the most solid. How a safe space, a home, can turn into something else entirely. It begins on a quiet evening down in Egypt's Sohag governorate.
Right, picture this. It's late, maybe around 8:00 p.m. The Nile Corniche area, it's dark. You got the city lights reflecting off the water, but mostly just the sound and feel of the river moving.
And a young guy is just out for a walk, a routine thing, but then he spots something large, heavy-looking near the edge of the water, a big sack, a schwal, they call it. Just doesn't look right.
That feeling, something's wrong. He feels compelled to check it out, but you can imagine the dread. He manages to drag it partly onto the bank.
Yeah, it's heavy, really heavy. He tears a small hole in the sack, and instantly he sees it. A human head, an adult woman, the worst possible confirmation.
Police arrive, obviously secure the area immediately. They retrieve the sack, the body. It's a woman, looks like maybe in her 30s, fully clothed. But the water, it's done some damage. Immediate ID is impossible.
But the cause of death is clear pretty quickly as signs of manual strangulation.
Putting her in a sack, taking her to the river. That suggests someone trying very hard to hide what they did, right?
Yeah.
Trying to get distance from the crime scene itself.
Exactly, hoping the river would just carry the evidence away. But in that effort, maybe in their panic, they made a mistake, a big one, right there.
What was that?
While the police are still processing the first scene, they notice something else, a bit further away. Another sack, smaller this time.
Oh, no.
Yeah, they pull that one out too. And inside, a little girl, maybe 10 years old, also fully dressed, also strangled.
So immediately the picture changes. This isn't random.
Not at all. It's instantly clear. Two victims, killed the same way, packaged the same way, dumped in the same place. You're looking at mother and daughter, almost certainly, and likely a single killer who knew them well.
Okay, so a horrific crime, linked victims. But still so many questions. Who are they? Why did this happen? And crucially, where did it happen? Because it probably wasn't the riverbank.
Right. That's where the forensics team really takes over. The autopsy is key now, not just to confirm how they died, but to start building a picture of who they were and what happened in those final moments.
And the results started coming in.
They did. DNA confirmed the relationship. Mother and daughter. No surprise there, really. But the timeline details were quite specific.
Like what?
Well, the pathologist figured they'd been killed about 5 days before being found, both strangled. But here's the thing. The mother was killed first, shortly before the daughter.
Okay, what does that sequence tell you, forensically speaking? Killing the mother first.
It suggests control, maybe premeditation. It's not a chaotic, frenzied attack where both might be killed almost simultaneously. It points towards a primary target, the mother, and then the elimination of the witness, the daughter.
Yeah.
Methodical, cold.
Chilling. And then there was another finding from the autopsy, something that just completely shifted the direction of the investigation.
Ah, yes. The finding that the mother, Ibtisam, had engaged in sexual relations very shortly before her death.
That blows the random attacker theory out of the water, doesn't it?
Completely. It narrows the focus dramatically. You're no longer looking for a stranger, an intruder. You're looking for someone intimate. Someone she knew, trusted perhaps, enough to be with shortly before she died. It also strongly suggests the murder didn't happen during a break-in, but somewhere else. Somewhere planned, or at least somewhere familiar.
So with this profile, mother and daughter, strangled, connection to intimacy before death, the police could finally put names to the faces.
Right. They checked missing persons reports and got a match fairly quickly. Ibtisam, 37 years old, and her 10-year-old daughter. They'd been reported missing by the husband's family, actually.
Her husband's family. What was her situation?
Well, Ibtisam was a widow. Her husband had died about 5 years earlier, left her financially okay, apparently owned the apartment they lived in, but, and this is important, she'd sort of cut ties with his family after his death, lived quite an isolated life, just her and her daughter.
And the in-laws, when they reported her missing, they had a theory.
Yeah, they suspected maybe someone had taken advantage of her living alone, broken in, attacked her at home. You know, the kind of fear people have for someone perceived as vulnerable.
But that theory didn't match the evidence, especially the lack of a struggle at her place.
Exactly. Police got a warrant, searched Ibtisam's apartment top to bottom, and found, well, nothing. No forced entry, no signs of a fight, everything neat, tidy. It was clear. The murders did not happen there.
So the killer wasn't breaking in. They were either invited in somewhere or they used another location entirely. This points away from strangers and towards her circle.
Her very small circle. Since she distanced herself from the in-laws, who was left, it really came down to her immediate neighbors, a couple named Layla and Akramy.
Neighbors. How close were they?
According to initial interviews, extremely close. Layla was described as Ibtisam's best friend, like a sister. And Layla's husband, Akramy, well, he apparently considered Ibtisam like a sister, too. They painted this picture of a very tight-knit, supportive relationship going back years, even before Ibtisam's husband died.
Okay, the trusted inner circle. But investigators are trained to look beyond the surface, right?
Absolutely. And during those initial interviews, while Akramy was talking about how close they all were, how much he cared for Ibtisam like family, the officers noticed something about Layla.
What was it?
Just subtle things, her facial expressions, fleeting moments of distress, maybe discomfort, something that didn't quite match the narrative of simple, shared grief. It was like she knew something or suspected something but wasn't saying. Just a flicker, but they noted it down.
Interesting. A gut feeling, but they needed more than that.
They needed proof. And often these days, that proof comes from our digital lives. The prosecutor authorized a check of Ibtisam's phone records. They focused on the days leading up to her disappearance, about a week before the bodies were found.
And
did they find anything significant?
oh, yes. The very last outgoing call Ibtisam ever made, 4:30 p.m. on the day she vanished, it was to Akramy, her next-door neighbor, the man who considered her a sister.
One call could be innocent, maybe asking to borrow something?
Sure, one call, maybe. But they didn't stop there. They dug deeper into the records. And what they found was, well, it wasn't neighborly. A huge history of calls, long calls, frequent calls, and tons of messages exchanged between Ibtisam and Akramy.
So not just neighbors, not like a sister.
Not even close. It screamed secret relationship, an affair. Suddenly the motive, the opportunity, the intimacy suggested by the autopsy, it all started to click into place. And Layla's strange reaction during the interview, it made a lot more sense.
They had enough to bring him back in, didn't they?
Immediately, confronted them with the phone records, and Akramy, he just crumbled, confessed right away.
To everything.
To the murders. But his immediate focus, almost desperately, was to shield Layla. He kept insisting she knew nothing, had no part in it, that he acted completely alone. And Layla's reaction to his confession, did it confirm what the police suspected about her knowing something?
It did, but perhaps not in the way you'd think. She was genuinely, utterly shocked, devastated. It confirmed the officer's initial read. She sensed something was deeply wrong, maybe suspected infidelity, but the idea of a double murder and the true extent of the betrayal, that floored her. She hadn't known the horrifying reality.
So this affair, how long had it been going on? And how did it start? This whole thing began right after her husband died.
Unbelievably, yes. The affair started just 2 months after Ibtisam became a widow, back in 2015. Akramy apparently preyed on her vulnerability, her loneliness. He complained to her about his own marriage problems with Layla.
Wow. So he created this false bond while Layla was probably confiding in Ibtisam about the very same issues.
Exactly. A really cruel emotional triangle. And they decided early on, apparently, not to get married. Ibtisam worried about her daughter. Akramy wouldn't leave Layla, so it became this long-term secret arrangement.
4 years, wasn't it?
Yeah.
How do they even manage that, living next door?
The level of deception is staggering. It seems Ibtisam would often take her daughter over to Layla's place, maybe say she was running a quick errand or letting the kids play.
Okay.
And then she'd leave her daughter playing, sometimes literally just outside the door, and conduct the affair with Akramy inside. Sometimes even in Layla and Akramy's own home when Layla wasn't there.
In Layla's own home.
Yeah.
With the child nearby. That's incredibly brazen.
It speaks volumes about Akramy's calculation and, sadly, about Layla's absolute trust. She apparently did have moments of doubt over those 4 years, little suspicions, but she had pushed them away, literally telling herself it was like the devil's whisper, because she couldn't conceive that her best friend and her husband would betray her like that.
But secrets that big rarely stay buried forever, do they? How did it finally come out?
It wasn't the phone records initially. It was a child's innocence. Towards the end of that 4th year, Layla's own daughter casually mentioned something about Ibtisam having been inside their house when Layla wasn't home.
The final piece of the puzzle for Layla's doubts.
Exactly. It confirmed those suppressed fears. Layla investigated, confronted them, and finally caught them. The secret was out.
So Akramy was cornered. What happened then?
He knew it was over. He told Ibtisam the affair had to stop right then and there. His life, his family, his reputation were all on the line.
But Ibtisam didn't just accept that. After 4 years,
No, she refused. She felt she had invested too much, perhaps. She threatened him, said if he cut her off, she would expose everything, tell Layla the whole story, the full 4 years, ruin him publicly.
so she turned the affair into leverage. A weapon.
Precisely. And for Akramy, that threat wasn't just about embarrassment, it was about total destruction. In his mind, there was only one way to guarantee her silence permanently.
He started planning.
Methodically. He waited for a day, he knew Layla would be out of the house early. Then he made that phone call we found in the records, the 4:30 p.m. call, luring Ibtisam over one last time.
Under the guise of talking? Or a final encounter?
Likely presented as a final encounter. She came over, brought her daughter with her, as she apparently often did. They had sex, which matches the forensic finding exactly. And then, right after, he strangled her. Coldly. Calculated.
But the daughter was there, outside playing.
He knew he couldn't leave a witness. He went outside, found the little girl, brought her inside, and strangled her too.
Wow.
Just eliminated the only person who could place Ibtisam there with him.
You already had the sacks ready.
Seems so. Part of the plan. He put the bodies in the sacks he'd prepared, waited until evening, around 8:00 p.m., drove to the Nile Corniche and dumped them in the river, then just went home, acted like nothing happened.
Until the phone records led the police back to him and he confessed.
Yes. With the confession, the phone data, the forensic evidence lining up, it was an overwhelming case. He was tried and sentenced to death.
It's such a devastating story. The betrayal is profound, but what really strikes me is the complete violation of boundaries of the home.
Absolutely. That's the core lesson here, isn't it? The danger inherent in giving people unchecked access, absolute trust, especially within your most private spaces. The home, which should be a sanctuary, became the stage for the deception, the planning, and ultimately the motivation for murder.
And the deepest tragedy, of course, is the child. Killed for no reason other than being present. A witness to her mother's relationship and her neighbor's crime.
A devastating consequence of adult actions and betrayals. It really makes you think about the nature of trust. The source material kind of hints that this dynamic, this potential for boundaries to be fatally eroded by those closest to us, it might be more common than we think.
It leaves you wondering, doesn't it, how much trust is truly safe? And how do you possibly protect the sanctity of your own life, your own home, from the very people you let inside? A difficult question with no easy answers.